The following program is powered by Ride the Wave Media.
Introducing the best podcast in Utah, Radio Daybreak. Here are your hosts, Just Plain and Bex.
Oh, yes, here we go. It's Radio Daybreak, the best podcast in Utah. I am Just Plain. No Bex today. Bex is actually in Kyoto, Japan with her whole family. All 15 of them are out there. That's got to be a crazy sight, right? 15 Americans going wild in the middle of Japan. I wish I was over there, actually. I'm going to go over there one of these days. Bex will be on our interview today with Kyrie Blaney, the confident mompreneur. Before we get to that, I got a couple of announcements, though. Listen, Laura from Empowered Community Markets posted that June 8th, put it on your calendar, June 8th, farmers markets return to Soda Row. It's going to be amazing. Another announcement from the DBC, the Daybreak Business Community, also daybreakbusinesscommunity.com. We are at Harmon's all month again. This is the month of May. Happy May. Speaking of May and the DBC, May 16th, we've got a workshop that is going to be done by me. I'm going to show you how to do a podcast. We're going to actually go in there. We're going to sit as a group, whoever shows up, and we're going to do it right there on the spot from scratch. We're going to throw out ideas and we're going to mold it. It's going to be fun. Listen, there's so much stuff going on around Daybreak. If you want to find all the info for the fun stuff, stay off of that other Daybreak Facebook group page and come to Daybreak Happenings. Google it right now. You'll find Daybreak Happenings. Facebook, search it. Meta AI, search it if you're into that. You can find Daybreak Happenings. It's the second largest group on Facebook right now for Daybreak. We're really proud of what we're doing. I'm sitting by right now waiting to approve you. You can find out about all the people from the DBC, from Ride the Wave Media, doing incredible things here in Daybreak. Ben Brown, the Fresh King Benjamin, just had his first comedy pop-up show at Biscott's with Precautionam, sold out. You got Courtney Pearl doing tarot for tips all over the place. She's doing it big. Great podcast. We got all kinds of stuff going on. But let me tell you what we're going to get to right now. I got something real special, real important that we've got to do something about. And I'm going to bring in Robin from KW, Keller Williams, right here in South Valley from Daybreak adjacent. And we're going to talk about Red Day. So let's go to it. All right, I got a very special guest right here with me, Robin Buckwalter. Thanks for joining me. Bex is the one. Bex hit me up wild hours because she's in Japan or something right now, doing Japan things with the family, having the time of her life. But she hit me up at a crazy hour, and she's like, look, you got to get Robin on ASAP because she's got a cool thing that you're working on. I didn't even have to look into it. I was like, yeah, let me go. Sure, book it. So, Robin.
Here we are.
Yeah, appreciate you jumping on with me. What is it that you're doing?
Okay, I work with Bex Nielsen at Keller Williams South Valley, right at the border of Daybreak on the east side. And we are doing the coolest fundraiser/service project in a couple of weeks. We are collecting funds from all kinds. Anyone who wants to donate to buy duffel bags. These are big duffel bags with new teddy bears, hygiene kits, blankets, and coloring books for kids in foster care. And I think most people have seen or heard about, like, I've seen movies where the kids get a garbage bag and they put their clothes in it and they go to the next foster care house. And every time they go, they get a garbage bag to put their stuff in. And I've got a few people I know that have been through this. And so they're like, wow, I already feel kind of disposable, kind of trashy. And now I put all my stuff in this trash bag. So look at this. Thank you for the picture of these darling duffel bags. They're brand new and they're going to be filled with brand new items with enough space for the kids to put their belongings. The few belongings they have will go in these backpacks. So each one of these is $30 and our office is collecting $30 donations. And we're looking for, honestly, 100 more $30 donations through this weekend. And we're ordering these. They'll be at our office May 9th, which is a Thursday. And then you can see there's a little bit of stenciling and coloring. We're going to be coloring on the bags. Yeah, putting a loving message on each bag.
Let me ask you something on that. On the messages, are those all handwritten? Are you guys
Yes.
putting the messages? Yeah, oh my gosh, that's awesome. I
They're
love that.
handwritten. So we're paying an extra $1,000 for a bunch of stencils, paints, and marker. So you can see the lettering looks really nice on those. And there's an ocean picture. I see a house picture. So we're going to have stencil. There might be some artists in the group that do a really good job without a stencil, but we'll have the stencil, the paint, the markers, and then we will individually stuff each bag. And our goal is thousands of bags, several thousand bags to donate here locally in Utah to the foster care program.
Now that's incredible what you guys are doing. Now I see the stat right here on this flyer, and it says every day 1,200 children enter the foster care system. That's real.
It's real.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
crazy.
So they
And I
really.
think as we hear about these kids, they don't just move once. They typically move, I don't know that stat, several times, every few months, every year, as their life changes, as the families change, or we don't want this kid, or we'll take more kids. They're moving, they're on the go. It's pretty unstable.
Yeah. So if anything, man, give $30 out there and get them a bag. That's some sort of stable for them. That's something that is consistent no matter how many times they move. It looks like they've got good quality. You've said they're good quality. They're not carrying around trash bags anymore.
Right.
$30, people. Come on, $30.
I know. I'm like, $30 is like 3 or 4 trips for coffee or like 2 lunches. Yeah.
Right? If that, like, come on. And look what's in there. They get a teddy bear, a blanket, some crayons, coloring book, and a hygiene kit.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm going to tell you what, Robin, this $30 right here could change a kid's life. You hear that kind of stuff all the time, but it really could change the trajectory of somebody out there that's going through the foster care system. They might get that and think, oh my God, I'm loved. And then it might change what they're doing. Come on, people.
Exactly right.
$30.
You're exactly right. Yeah. I know. It's $30. It's nothing to a lot of us. It may be a sacrifice for somebody, but it's like, you know what? Ask a few friends. See if your kid wants to go sell lemonade for 2 hours. They'll make $30 fast. I mean, this can be put together pretty quickly.
And you know what? If you don't have the money out there, you have a social media account because you're watching this right now. Share this clip. Get it to the people who have the money. Get $30 in the hand. How do we give the donation money? Where is that money going to? How do we get it to you?
Okay, this is pretty easy. We're going to do Venmo. Now, someone could bring a check to the KW office at 40,000 West, 114 South. You could. I don't know if we still has checks, but some people do.
Yeah.
The easiest thing is KW South Valley is our Venmo name. So KW South Valley. And all you have to put is Red Day or duffel bags or foster care. Any term like that, we'll know. Thank you. There it is on the screen. KW South Valley, send 30. I mean, if you can only send 10, send 10. We'll put it together for a kid. If you can send 50, send 50, right?
I love that idea. I love the idea of if you don't have 30, send what you have because you can use it, right? Like it's not 30 or nothing. Like you can send whatever.
Yes.
Venmo at KW South Valley or show up down there with a check. If you still got a check, send us a picture of that thing. Blur your numbers out and all that. But I want to see that because that's an antique or something.
It's a relic. I know. It really is. I'm like, what are people going to use? I think Venmo. I've met a few people that don't use Venmo, not very many. That's what I'm saying. Or you could bring cash, come to our office again, 4,000 West, 114 South. We own the whole building. There's a lobby on the 2nd floor. There's a reception area right when you get up there. And you can ask anyone, hey, I've got money for Red Day, or I've got money for duffel bags. And
Red
you
Day.
can turn it that way.
There it is.
Yep, there it is. And it's a charity write-off, of course. And if your business, your office, your church group, your gym group, any group of friends you have, if you say, look, you guys want to donate, let's get 3 bags. Let's get $90. $150, 5 bags. That would be incredible.
I love that. Thank you so much, Robin, for jumping on with us. Robin Buckwalter, KW South Valley, Venmo, whatever money you got down there to KW South Valley.
Yeah.
Help with Red Day. 1,200 kids going into foster care every day. They can't be walking around with trash bags, people. Come on. Let's get some money to them. Let's help out. Let's get them these teddy bears. Let's get them these bags. Thanks again. We appreciate you.
Thank you,
Thanks for
Blaine.
thanks for making a change out there. This is cool. We'll help you out.
Okay, thanks, Blaine. Thanks,
Yeah.
everybody.
Listen, you got to go out there and put $30 on that for Keller Williams, for Red Dave, for the foster kids out there. Get in that bag, man. $30 for that bag and a teddy bear and something that they can take with them and have a little sense that, hey, I'm human. $30. Come on. Let's go to another hard hitting interview. Now, let me tell you something before we get into this. There is some pretty rough talk here in the sense of about domestic abuse, violence, that kind of stuff. If you hear this interview and it doesn't make you mad, sad, upset, stop listening now. Stop listening now because I don't think you got a pulse, you don't have a heartbeat, and you shouldn't be listening to our show because Kyrie Blaney has got one of the most incredible stories you've got to hear. This kind of stuff shouldn't be happening. Let's get to that. And Bex is in this interview, so stick around with us and then we'll be back out on the backside. All right, let's bring her in. Kyrie Blaney, the confident mompreneur. I love that.
I
love
love so excited. She's finally joining us. Welcome.
Kyrie, yeah, welcome to the show. So what's a mompreneur? Tell me what that is. I love that.
A mompreneur. It's the mom that's doing everything. That's what I always tell people. It's the moms that are running businesses and raising babies all at the same time.
I get it. I love it.
That is awesome. Yeah. That is amazing. I was going to say, you get it, Blaine. I get it.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, well, tell us what journey, what led you to be a mompreneur and help others balance that personal and professional life. What made you want to do this for people?
Well, obviously, my own journey. I think that's usually where it starts from why we get into the things that we get into. Being a mom, a young mom, and working a job that just like wasn't fulfilling and wasn't a great environment to be working in. So I went back to school when my son was about 1.5 years old. And as I was going to college, I ended up starting my own nonprofit at the same time too. And so it was a lot that I was trying to balance, school and babies and businesses and all of the things, and just realized how hard it is and how
Eating and sleeping, that wasn't part of it, right?
there was so much going on. And I think anybody who is a parent who is also doing all the things gets it.
Yeah, for sure. That's very true. That is very true. So this started how many years ago did you say?
So the Confident Mompreneur started about 3 years ago.
3 years ago now. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And you've got multiple companies, right? Is that what I'm hearing?
So I started a nonprofit and I ran that for about 2 years. And so I helped a lot of other moms that were going to college, and it was a great experience. I did an entrepreneurship competition with it and won some award money and did a bunch of stuff. But then I went through some big personal changes, and it was just too hard to balance everything all at the same time. So I took a step back from that one and I went fully in on the Confident Mompreneur.
Gotcha. I love that.
Now, I know that you talk a lot because as we were talking before the show, I have stalked your social media pages.
It's great. I love her social. Her social's fantastic. Hey, what is your social real quick? Tell us what it is.
The Confident Mompreneur. That's where I'm at everywhere.
I love that. That's so good.
It's so fun to watch you just in your element and with your family and just the gratitude that you have and just wholeheartedly being authentic you. Like, look at me. I'm getting teary-eyed because
Right?
it really means so much to me. I'm like, Blaine, we got to have her on the show. But that being said, I wanted to dive into, you mentioned a little bit about your personal journey. Is that something that you wouldn't mind just kind of giving us a brief overview, what your story is, where you came from, and how you got here?
Yeah, it definitely had its big ups and big downs. I think
Yeah.
like anybody kind of goes through. So I started my nonprofit. I finished college. I did all of the things. And during that time, kind of unbeknownst to everybody around me, I was going through a abusive relationship,
Mhm.
and that was really difficult. And I was really, that was a big motivator for what I was doing so that I could get myself and my son out of that situation.
Yep.
And so I was finally able to do that. and I went through a divorce, which when you're going through a divorce, it's hard enough. And then having an abusive spouse on the other end of it, it made it very, very.
Yeah.
And so that came with its own set of hardships. There was a lot of financial hardships, mental abuse throughout the whole thing. There was a lot going on. And I was also going through my transformation of I had been handling somebody else's emotions for such a long time that I forgot how to handle my own emotion.
Yeah.
And this torrential downpour of emotional things that I was going through on top of the financial and everything. So it was a really difficult period of time.
Mm-hmm.
And then I ended up having some health concerns kind of come up. I had a cancer scare. And I always tell people your mental health and your physical health are so tied together. And my physical health had started to go downhill because of my mental health. My body was telling me I needed to slow down. I needed to rest and, kind of recoup from everything that was going on. And so I went through that. And then almost immediately after all of this, I went through a sexual assault and physical assault.
God.
Yeah, it was one thing after another. And then, of course, I went through the court process for my sexual lasted a full year.
This is she just told us the plot to the worst horror movie ever. This is, oh my gosh.
This is what creates warriors.
Yeah.
Truly.
What did you do to combat I want to find out what you did to combat the mental health issues, because to me that's one of the biggest things out there. I think everybody's got something they do. And it's time to kind of let that rise to the surface and talk about that kind of stuff. What did you do to combat your mental?
Well, like you said, it's real life. We all go through really tough, really hard things. And, it doesn't have to be the same things that I went through. And of course, I would never hope anybody goes through any of the things that I went through. But, we all go through those really hard, really tough times. And I was not very good about, reaching out, getting help, talking about what was going on. So I was not a very good example of what to do in that situation.
What do you think? What was keeping you from it though? Let me ask. What was your, stopping you there?
Shame. 100% shame. I think we all hold on to shame really, really deeply. And like you said, mental health especially is not a topic that a lot of people really speak openly about. And I'm trying to change that now, which is, again, why I do what I do, because I went through it and I felt so alone and I felt like I was never going to get out of that deep, dark hole. And I think a lot of people have been there. Yeah. It got to the point where I actually ended up attempting suicide because I was so far deep in that hole and I didn't feel like I could get myself out of it. So that was where it really turned for me. Luckily, I had my parents that were very supportive and, part of that process, and some friends that ended up calling the sheriff's office on me. And the sheriff came into my office and said, "Yeah, you can't be here alone. We're taking you to a mental health facility." And so I was actually in there for a little bit, and that's where things really started to look up for me.
Yeah.
Wow. And I know on your podcast, and this is, what I really love about what she does. First and foremost, thank you for sharing that story. I want to acknowledge those are all hard things, and you just shared those very publicly. So thank you. I know that's not easy. I know it's what you do and probably why so many people relate to you, but it's not easy. So thank you.
Hey, you know what? And I'll throw this out there too. Yeah. If you need it, if you feel this way out there and you listen to this right now, NIMH, that's the what is that? The National Institute of Mental Health. Go to the website, you can get help. They can call 988 now. 988 get you to the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. Do it now. Yeah. Do it now. Somebody out there needs to hear that. Do it now, because it's too much. You got too much. Even if you think you're at the bottom, you still got too much in you to throw it away. So go get some help.
Yeah.
I had to throw that out there. Let's talk about that podcast though.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Yeah.
No, you're okay.
No,
and I appreciate you
no.
throwing that in. That's very important. But you do feature a lot of inspiring interviews. Can you tell us particularly like a memorable, interview or experience on your podcast or guest that you've had that you'd like to share or touch on?
Oh my gosh. I've done over 100 podcast episodes now. So I've spoken to so many people and they're all incredible. But
Anything that was
one
really
of-
impactful. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, one of the ones that was most impactful for me kind of in that moment, I met with Dean Smith, who talks about forgiveness.
Mhm.
And I was right in the middle of going through my court process for my sexual assault.
Wow.
And his story is incredibly powerful. So if you haven't heard his story, you need to go listen to it. But for me during that moment, it wasn't about finding forgiveness for the man who did that to me, but rather forgive myself. Because I think when you're in that situation, there's so much victim blaming and stuff going on in society that you automatically put the blame onto yourself. And so there was a lot of shame for myself around, like, should I have gone out on a date with this person? Should I have done this? Should I have done that? And so there was a lot of like self-resentment there that I had to learn to forgive.
Like you thought. So, oh my God, that's terrible. So what I'm hearing is,
But
it's almost, you like blamed yourself. You were blaming yourself in some ways.
Absolutely. Like when you're in that situation, it obviously like he was at fault there 100%. But especially when I was like going through the court process, I know it's their job, but the court on his side was very victim blaming, like, blaming me for going out on a date with this person, inviting him into my home, doing this, doing that. And that happens so often to survivors. And so we automatically just put that blame on ourselves. It's like, well, maybe he was a good person and this was just like an outlier. Obviously going through the court
choices crazy.
Yeah, obviously going through the court process, I was like, this was such a violent act. I can't have been the first one that he did this to. But the other women that he did this to before obviously weren't able to step up and speak. And so that it happened to me. And I wanted to kind of that line down so that it couldn't happen to anybody else. And that
Where's this guy? Where's he at now? Where's he at now?
Prison.
That's what I hope to hear.
Yeah. We got found guilty on 3 felony counts of assault. Which doesn't happen very often in these cases. So I was kind of one of very few that got a guilty on my case. And still, even with 3 felony counts of assault, he only got 6 to 8 years in prison.
So he'll be out doing it again somewhere. Like that's repeat. I mean, they have to keep a watch on this. That's scary
process, though. Like the strength that you have and that you found. Where did you dig? I mean, was that prior to, were you in your facility and you had therapists and help and things through that process of your sexual assault, or did the depression, where on the timeline did that happen? Was it afterwards? So you had already found your coping mechanisms and things prior to that?
So I was assaulted in March. I attempted suicide in June. We didn't get we didn't go to court until February of the next year. And we didn't get our guilty verdict until March.
So it took a year.
Wow. It took a year. It took a year whole process. And so no, I had started the process, but I was still in the middle of going through it when I ended up in the psych facility. And that was one of the best things that could have happened to me during that time, I think.
Yeah.
And I don't think enough people talk about like actually having to go into a facility. But it was really great. Like I had therapists available to me all the time. They set me up with a therapist outside of the ward. When I got out, I had other people around me that were going through very similar things. So there was that kind of sense of community and understanding that I think when you're going through something like that, you assume that nobody understands what you're going through.
Yeah.
And so it was so nice to have those people around me who I was like, okay, yeah, you get it.
So it's one thing to go through that and you've got your advocates and you've got your support and your team. It's a very different thing to speak about that publicly and do it too. Where do you find that courage and that strength? Ooh, I just got the goosebumps.
Yeah.
That is so empowering what you do. So talk a little more about that.
I mean, you even said it. Some of these women didn't step up when you did. And you were the one leading the charge, if I heard that correct. Like, that's crazy already to think that they're too scared or whatever it may be.
It
gets me amped up over here. It gets me mad. It does. It does. You said something. Go ahead and answer that question. Go ahead and answer it. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. And you're right. Like it's kind of frustrating, but at the same time, like as a victim myself, I get how scary it is to step up and say those things. And especially, like I said, when you feel so alone, when you're questioning yourself and your judgment, it's so easy not to go through with it. But also, the reason why I do what I do is to help other people who are in that situation not feel so alone. To know that there are other people out there who understand, to show them that there is life after trauma.
I love that. You said something earlier that still bothered me, though. And it's about the courts. And you said the other team had to fight for it. And that they had to make you look whatever. And I get that that's their job. But there's a lot of that in large portions of people in society. It's not just in the U.S., but all over the world. You got people saying, oh, well, she shouldn't have dressed that way. She deserved it. She asked for it. No. Never does anyone ask for a sexual assault. Like, that's not condoned anywhere. But you got people out there who say those kinds of things. So it leaks into the court. And that bothers me. It bothers me because it can't be like that. It shouldn't be like that.
Well, and that's another big reason why I'm doing what I'm doing, is to create change within the systems itself, to make women feel like they can report these things and that they're going to be listened to, that they're going to have a great team on their side, that they're going to get that guilty verdict. Because right now, that's not the norm.
It's true. It's not the norm.
Most women don't even report it. If they do, they aren't listened to. If they do happen to get a team that listens to them and says, hey, yeah, we actually do have enough evidence for this, they'll go through court and not get a guilty verdict. There was another girl that I spoke with at an event that we went through the same thing in practically the same timeline. It was about a month apart from each other. She got not guilty verdict on hers.
And how, like, dagger to the soul when you do that, and you have to repeat that story and repeat that story and repeat that story. It's horrible.
Well, and the court system itself is such a re-victimization the full way through. Like putting those intimate photos up in front of a group of strangers, having to retell that story and look the person that did it to you in the eyes. There's so much within that process that's so hard. And then, like I said, even with me getting a guilty verdict, he only got 6 to 8 years, including time served. He can get out on, parole before that. So was the year that I went through, that difficult time, worth it? And nearly killing myself in the process. Quite literally, was it worth it? I have to ask.
Yeah, it's almost like that year you were imprisoned in that year. You know what I mean? You were technically imprisoned in that year yourself. And that's nowhere to live either. Yeah. You're supposed to be free. You're supposed to be, living your best life, as they say. But no, you had to sit through that process. The system sucks. I'm telling you that right now. The system sucks.
What are you doing? You did talk about, and Blaine, it's been broken and there's a lot about that. But I do want to dive into, what are you doing for advocacy and how can we at Radio Daybreak and our listeners,
Mhm.
here in the state of Utah and beyond, because we've got listeners, kind of all over now, right, Blaine?
We
How can
do.
we help? How can we help? What are we doing? How do we make a change? What do we do?
So the SAFE Project is a group I work with locally. They helped me through my entire court process. They were incredible. But support groups like those, whether it's the SAFE Project itself or your local groups that help, domestic violence, sexual assault, anything like that. We also need to speak up and make changes in the system itself. So talk to your local, go- government employees, whether that's, like your Senate, your reps, anything like that, your local, city people. They all need to be told that this is a problem. And you also need to believe survivors, regardless of whether there's a guilty verdict or not. Believe survivors.
Yeah. I love that. You got to absolutely do that, because that's tough. If you get a not guilty, then that person who filed the charges, then they look like they lied. I get that. Like, it's not always true, because it could have got tossed out on some stupid technicality that the system put in place, and then it's messy. It's a messy situation. One more question. Go ahead, Bex.
Oh no, I really appreciate you diving into your story and a lot of the heavy parts, but I do want to transition just a little bit and tell me, where your life's at now and how that's changed for you, and the positivity that you share on your social media page, and speak a little bit to that.
Yeah. So since going through all of this, it's kind of crazy how quick my life has turned around. I have really spent the last couple of years focusing on myself and my mental health, and it shows. I have a great relationship now with my partner. I have great relationships with my family members and things. I travel all the time. I get to do this, and it's honestly so wonderful. But I attribute a lot of it to finding the support that I needed and really focusing on myself and my mental health.
I love that. And that's what I was going to say. What advice do you have, for listeners who are struggling or have had, some traumatic experiences in turning around their life? Like, was there a key, nugget, takeaway, like a mantra, if you will, that you kind of find in those dark moments and that you could share?
I would just tell them that it's okay to sit in your feelings with it for a little bit, but don't let it be forever. And make sure that you find the groups of people around you that are really going to help you up and out of those situations. Because I think the people that you surround yourself, especially when you're going through those hard things, is absolutely key. I couldn't have done it without those people around me. And, take the time and space you need to work on your healing. For me, I completely quit what I was doing for a year and a half while I was going through everything. And I think people, especially people in business, are really afraid to do that they're going to lose all of the progress that they've made over that time. Honestly, it catapulted me forward when I came back and was like, hey, I'm on my stuff. I am ready to go. I am healed. I am feeling like I have a story to share and a reason, a why behind what I'm doing. And I have done so amazing since.
So great.
So if we want to find more from you, it's theconfidentmompreneur.com. We didn't even talk about, you got books on here. You got books on Amazon. How many books you got out there?
So I have one book. It's called The Confident Businesswoman, and it's a workbook that helps you go through and kind of figure out your why behind your business, setting it up for success from the beginning, making sure that you're balancing work life with your actual life. And then I also have my journal, which is a daily journal. It has a gratefulness practice in it. It has priority list, a habit tracker, a bunch of different things in there.
And that's all available on Amazon through your website. You got some other stuff on here. You got all kinds of, I want to plug your podcast one more time too. The Confident Mompreneur. It says, well, you can just tell us what's that about. It says, welcome to a podcast that's designed to empower and inspire real women. I love that. Tell us more about that before we get out of here. And how often do you do this show? I know we already touched on it a little bit earlier, but yeah.
Yeah. So I release new podcast episodes weekly every Wednesday. And like you kind of said, it's a podcast to inspire real women, and it's done by real women. So I love podcasts, but I always felt like the guests that they were bringing on were kind of like those unattainable, idealistic people, the celebrities and things like that, which is great. And I appreciate that. But I also want like real people with real stories that I'm like, okay, yeah, I relate to that. I see where they're coming from. And I see how they kind of went through that hard thing and came out on the other side better in some way. And so those are the stories that I really try and share.
Love that. You can find that on all major platforms, I'm assuming, right?
Everywhere.
Go search for it. Search for the Confident Mompreneur podcast wherever you listen to pods. Hey, we appreciate having you on, and this has been
very much. This has been so awesome. And
yeah. Thank you.
Heartfelt, and I think that is what is so impactful and powerful about you and your story and everything that you touch. Because you, when we started, I said you are so authentic, and really, really appreciate that. Being vulnerable with all of those experiences is not always the easiest thing. So thank you so much for being on Thank you so much for being on the show and sharing your story.
Thank you guys so much for having me. I was so excited when you reached out. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime,
truly. If you have a message, that is one thing before we go, we'll wrap. Do you teach any workshops or anything like that we need to know about? Any upcoming events?
I have lots of upcoming events. So the SAFE project that I just talked about is actually competing in a competition at the University of Wyoming. It's called the Spark Tank competition. So I'll be speaking on behalf of them about, their role in everything that they did for me, and just what an amazing organization that they are. I'm also doing a virtual summit, which is called the Hike Like a Woman Summit. And I'll be talking about my mental health journey and kind of how the outdoors really helped me through that, because I'm very outdoorsy. We were talking about some of the pictures from my glacier trip actually before we started. Then I will also be doing a entrepreneurship competition at the University of Wyoming. I'll be speaking at the judge panel, and then I will also have a booth set up outside of it too.
Nice.
And you can come and see all of the cool student businesses that are up and coming.
Oh man, Kyrie Blaney, hard hitting. Let me tell you something though. That University of Wyoming, the thing she was talking about, where she was gonna go and get some scholarship money or whatever it was, she did it. I saw it posted on Instagram. Bex tracked me down. She's like, look at this. I think she got something close to upwards of $50,000. I'm really excited for her, proud for her, happy for her. I hope that goes far for her. Kyrie, thank you so much for coming on the show today. If you need anything else from us, it's at Radio Daybreak, across the board on social, at Just Blaine TV. You can find me out there. Hit us up. We love what we're doing here. More podcasts out there. If you've got another podcast idea, come to me. Let's do it. Let's talk. We'll see you again next week. Thank you, guys.